Today is my birthday, so I thought it would be fitting to release a video about birthdays in Fire Emblem. They are a relatively recent addition to the franchise, first being included in Awakening 12 years ago, and yes, Awakening is 12 years old. If I have to feel old on my birthday, then so do the rest of y'all. Also, fun birthday fact, today is also Caiden's birthday. So I guess it's cool that I share a birthday with a Fox character, but honestly, Caiden is a character that I don't really like using, who's only in Birthright, a game that I don't particularly like playing, or Revelations, a game where unit balance equals ... If you want to leave an engagement boosting comment, tell me what Fire Emblem character you share the birthday with, and whether or not you like them. But with that out of the way, let's move on to our analysis, where we start at Fire Emblem 7. While none of the playable characters in the Blazing Blade have official birthdays, the tactician character, Mach, gets to select their birth month upon creating the save file. Depending on what month Mach is born in, they will have a different affinity, and their affinity will impact the way their tactician stars affect other units. Mach gains tactician stars due to a variety of convoluted methods where the game judges you based on your playstyle. The more tactician stars you have, the better the bonuses you give. All units gain a flat 1% crit for every tactician star that you have, maxing out at a 10% crit bonus for the perfect 10-star tactician. However, units that share the affinity that the tactician has, which is determined by the birth month, gain an additional 1% hit and avoid for every star, maxing out at 10 hit and avoid, again, for 10 perfect tactician stars. It's not super relevant, and it's not even really a birthday so much as a birth month, but I figured I would include it because it is tangentially related to the topic, and it lets me talk about how the official Nintendo guide for Fire Emblem 7 incorrectly states that units who share an affinity with Mach gain a boost to their growth rates, which is just so funny to me. Normally, I take every opportunity I can to dog on Fire Emblem 7, but honestly, this isn't even an FE7 problem. Official Nintendo guides are consistently terrible. During the GBA era, the fandom was obsessed with growth rates, so I'm honestly not surprised that whoever they hired to write the official guide just threw in a line about growth rates, and for whatever reason it made it through proofreading. Anyway, with that brief diversion to Cringe Town, aka Fire Emblem 7, out of the way, we can now talk about how the birthday mechanics worked in the game that introduced them, Fire Emblem Awakening. In Fire Emblem Awakening, every member of the cast has a birthday assigned to them, with the exception of Robin, whose birthday is set by the player at the start of the save file during character creation. These birthdays fall within our real-world calendar system, and the 3DS uses its internal calendar to determine when it is someone's birthday. If you visit the barracks on a character's birthday, and that character is both recruited and alive, you will get a special event where the character in question gets a little bit of experience, finds a random item from the barracks item pool, and gets a surge in 2 of their stats selected at random. A surge is a 1-map boost similar to tonics. Robin's birthday works mostly the same way, but it does have a couple of special qualities. Firstly, Robin can share a birthday with another character, and this is the only way to get 2 birthday events on the same day. When this happens, Robin's birthday will always play before the other characters. I guess this is yet another instance of modern Fire Emblem doing avatar worship, SMH my head. The avatar's birthday also causes the random character at the bottom of the screen to change their message into one wishing the player a happy birthday. Speaking of that random character, normally if the avatar is married, then their spouse gets priority and shows up on the bottom screen of the barracks more often. But on Robin's birthday, this is overwritten, presumably to allow the player to see more messages from the variety of the cast, as opposed to just seeing the happy birthday message from their spouse. That's all there is mechanically to birthdays in Awakening, but I do want to point out a couple of other cool birthday facts that don't really change anything about the gameplay, but are still kinda neat. There are 48 non-Robin characters in Awakening's cast. and their birthdays are evenly distributed with 4 across each of the 12 months. Many of those birthdays take place on notable dates, such as the Japanese or international releases of various games in the series, but there are a couple of particular ones that I want to draw special attention to. Lucina's birthday is April 20th, which, in addition to being the Weed Day in America, is the day that Fire Emblem 1 was first released. Since this is basically the birthday of the series, it makes sense that they would choose to give one of the story's main characters its birthday as well. Morgan is the child of Robin, the player character, and their birthday takes place on Children's Day, which is a holiday celebrated in Japan. As you can probably guess, this is a holiday that celebrates children and wishes them happiness. Henry's birthday is November 13th, and in addition to 13 just being a spooky number, in 2012, the year that this released, November 13th was an eclipse. Eclipse is a dark tone. It's possible that this is a coincidence, but considering they're trying to make him like a spooky character with a spooky birthday, it's possible that it's not. And lastly, Aversa's birthday is November 3rd, which was the English release date of Fire Emblem 7. Thus proving that Fire Emblem 7 is bad because Aversa is one of the bad guys. 2 more quick birthday facts before we move on to Fates. The first is that Old Hubba actually has a birthday in the game's files that was never used. For those who are not aware, Old Hubba is this old man from the Hubba Tester, which was a weird side mode that allowed you to see how compatible your characters were. He never actually appears in the game's story, so this is probably just unused data from an earlier iteration of the character. Potentially more noteworthy is Anna's birthday of June 11th. There's nothing special about the day June 11th itself. However, Anna's birthday will consecutively be moved backwards by 1 day in each entry that she appears where there are birthdays. So, as we move into Fire Emblem Fates, Anna's birthday became June 10th. In Fire Emblem Fates, birthdays work very similarly to how they did in Awakening, with some minor differences. Since the barracks was replaced with My Castle, this is where the birthday event takes place. You do still get 3 benefits, however, experience has been changed to weapon experience. If I had to guess, this is a result of Fate's changing reclassing system to prevent infinite leveling. Either that or a result of the removal of grinding mechanics in Fire Emblem Fate's Conquest. Regardless, I think this is a good, if mostly meaningless change. The other 2 benefits are still gaining items and a surge of stats, however the randomness has been removed from both of these. Instead of 2 random stats, you always gain speed and luck. And instead of a random item, you always gain a specific item that is determined based on your route and chapter progression. There are 9 possible items, 3 for Birthright, 3 for Conquest, and 3 for Revelations. In Birthright Early Game, which is defined as chapters 6 through 13, you get a Pine Branch, which is a D rank lance with 11 might, 55 hit, and 10 crit. Because this is technically a Naginata, you gain a defense and resistance and lose 10 avoid when you have it equipped, but it also reduces your ability to double by 3 AS. In Birthright's mid-game, which is defined as chapters 14 through 18, you get Paper, which is an E-rank tome with 1 might and 95 hit that grants the equipped unit plus 1 speed, plus 10 avoid, and plus 10 crit avoid. And in the late game, which is defined as anything after chapter 19, you receive a Monkey Spirit, which is a D-rank spell with 4 might and 80 hit that grants the user plus 1 skill, plus 1 speed, minus 4 luck, and plus 2 resistance. In the Conquest route, the early game reward is Moonlight, which is a D-rank tome with 4 might and 70 hit, and the added effect that it restores 20% of your maximum HP after combat. This healing effect is usually worse than Nosferatu, but it is actually impactful enough that this is probably the best of the 9 possible birthday gifts. The Conquest route's mid-game reward is the Voltive Candle, which is a 5 might 70 hit dagger that grants the equipped unit Miracle. Notably, if the equipped unit already has Miracle, Voltive Candle's effect will stack as a second check. Additionally, these two effects will stack with Kaze's miraculous save ability, so theoretically you could give a unit 3 separate instances of Miracle. I don't see this being particularly useful for standard play, but it might be a funny meme for PvP. Moving on from that sidebar, the late game reward for the Conquest route is Odin's Grimoire, which is a C rank tome with 9 might and 65 hit, but 20 crit. This has the additional effect of lowering your crit avoid by 20, but its critical hits deal 4 times damage, similar to killer weapons. To compensate for this, it cannot double, which is unfortunate because 20 is already not a lot of crit, and if you're not doubling, this is really not ideal for a crit build. On the Revelations route, the early game reward is the Harp Yumi, which is a D rank bow with 6 might and 65 hit, and the additional effect that when you attack with it, it rallies skill. Also, because this is technically a Yumi, equipping it gives you +2 resistance. The mid-game reward is a Lantern, which is an E-rank staff with 1-3 range and 5 uses that restores between 7 and 10 HP dependent upon the user's staff rank, where they would deal 7 HP if they had lower than C rank staves. If they had C or B rank staves, it would be 8 HP. At A rank staves, 9 HP, and at S rank staves, the highest rank in the game, you can restore 10 HP. When I was doing research for this video, the .org wiki incorrectly listed the 7 to 10 range as random. And while I thought that was kind of ridiculous, I honestly think that this system is even more ridiculous. I'm not really sure what they were cooking with that one, but they were definitely cooking, I guess. And the late game reward for birthdays in Revelations is the Sunrise Katana, which is a D rank sword with 3 might and 85 hit. Because it's a katana, you get +1 speed, -1 defense and res, and as an additional effect, you gain 20 avoid with it equipped. Okay, that's all of the birthday gifts out of the way. We can finally talk about how Corrin's birthday works. Because you walk around as Corrin and therefore cannot talk to them, their birthday event will instead simply trigger as soon as you open My Castle, meaning that it is the only birthday event that is not missable. Corrin gets the exact same benefits as any other character would on their birthday, but all of the other characters' generic dialogue has been changed to wish Corrin a happy birthday. This will not overwrite any dialogue for events or items that they give you, but it will overwrite the second time you talk to them, or if a unit doesn't have an event, the first time you talk to them. Additionally, if your Corrin is married, you can go to the My Castle and check out their spouse, who will give you flowers and remind you that it's your birthday. Which for any other character I would think is rude, but honestly, I can see Corrin forgetting their birthday. That's it for the mechanical aspect of things, but much like with Awakening, there are some flavor things I want to draw attention to. First off, because the number of characters is not divisible by 12, we no longer have an exact match for birthdays in each month. Instead, most months have 6 birthdays, but September, November, December, and January each only have 5. February kind of has 5.5 because Flora and Felicia share a birthday due to being twins. However, on their birthday, you will gain 2 sets of birthday benefits. And if you set Corrin's birthday to February 19th, you'll gain 3 sets of benefits. So this is technically the ideal day to grind birthday bonuses. However, you can't get any of the early game bonuses, and you can't get the birthright bonuses because Flora is not available in the early game or in birthright. Instead of joining your army in birthright, Flora sets herself in fire out of shame because this is a very serious game for very serious adults who take things very seriously. If you're in the birthright route and want to grind birthday rewards, Kaze and Saizo have a shared birthday because they are also twins on October 2nd, so setting Corrin's birthday to that will allow you to get 3 bonuses per go through. This does also mean that October technically has 7 characters on there, or 6.5 if we're going by the same logic I did for February, which is kind of weird to me. You would think that that just means that they move one of the October birthdays to one of the months that only has 5 characters, because They seemed to be trying to keep a balance, but I guess maybe they were considering twins to be a single one. I don't really know. There are a couple of characters with notable birthdays. I already mentioned that Anna has a pattern of her birthday moving backwards by 1 day per entry, so as you may expect, her birthday is June 10th. However, in Birthright, you have 3 child units that are reincarnations of characters from Awakening, and for some reason, their birthdays are also each set 1 day before the unit that they are weird reincarnations of. I don't know that it's ever, confirmed what's going on with this, because technically speaking, they're, not the same character. They don't share the same birthday, they don't have the same names. And if you have Selena give birth to Caldori, who is the weird reincarnation of Cordelia, she talks about how looks skip a generation. It's very weird. But for whatever reason, each of them has a birthday 1 day earlier than their Awakening equivalent. Because this fits with the Anna pattern, it makes me wonder if these characters were meant to also be alt-universe versions of their Awakening equivalents, similar to how there are many different Annas scattered throughout the multiverse, an idea that was first established in this game's predecessor, Awakening. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds with this because I am currently recording an Anna video, and this topic will be brought up in that video, but it's something to bear in mind because it is a weird birthday fact. Also, if you're interested in seeing the Anna video, subscribe so that you don't miss it. That's my YouTuber plug. I did finger guns at the screen, but I don't have face cam on, so you can't see my finger guns, you gotta take my word for it. The last set of notable birthdays are Odin, Selena, and Laszlo. Since these are canonically the same copies of Owain, Severa, and Inigo that we saw in Awakening, they share their birthdays, instead of having the birthday jump backwards by 1 day like the Birthright crew does. It makes sense that they would maintain the same birthdays because they are quite literally the same characters. The DLC and their supports confirm this, that they are the same ones from Elise, they just jumped through a dimensional wormhole, because again, Fates is a serious game that takes itself very seriously. But that's really all we have about birthdays in Fates, and birthdays mechanics would undergo a major overhaul in the next game in the series, Toki Mirage Sessions Sharp FE. What, did you think I was going to say Fire Emblem Three Houses? Fire Emblem Three Houses came out July 26, 2019, whereas Tokyo Mirage Sessions came out in December of 2015, only a couple of months after Fates came out in June 2015. Last time I checked, 2015 is earlier than 2019. This is the next game in the series that has birthdays, don't at me. Okay, calling Tokyo Mirage Sessions a game that has birthdays is a bit of a stretch, but today is my birthday, I must remind you, so you're not allowed to be mad at me for this. Birthdays in Tokyo Mirage Sessions do not have any mechanical impact on the game. However, I wanted to bring them up anyway because there's something cool that they do with them. Each character's birthday is actually the birthday of their IRL voice actor. In this way, the birthdays just sort of act as a cool Easter egg, without getting in the way of the, in my opinion, quite good gameplay that is bogged down by an incredibly bad story. Anyway, I guess this has been your obligatory Tokyo Mirage Sessions content. Don't expect this to be a regular thing. I'm not going to talk about TMS too much more on the channel. Moving back to the mainline games, birthdays were once again mechanically relevant in Three Houses, although their relevance was toned down from Awakening and Fates era. Instead of gaining items, stats, weapon experience, or regular experience, instead a character's birthday is a chance to build your supports with them, either by purchasing flowers using some of your gold, or by going to tea time if you have unlocked that activity. Since much of Three Houses' gameplay revolves around building supports between the characters, both for the linked attack mechanic and for recruiting students into your house, or getting to go down Edelgard's route as opposed to Silver Snow, it makes sense that they would incorporate the support system into the birthday system. Although it is worth noting that Three Houses offers a plethora of other options to build supports, such as gifts that you can farm from the shops and greenhouse, mission assistance with out-of-house characters, fighting alongside in-house characters, or even performing activities like choir practice and mealtime. Thus, birthdays are by no means necessary or even overpowered in recruiting students early, but they are a nice addition and I like them from a flavor perspective. That being said, the most interesting thing about Three Houses' implementation of birthdays to me is, despite the Switch having an in-game clock, birthdays do not go off of that, but instead use a fictional calendar which the game's story revolves around. This change makes sense to me, however, because it is kind of crucial for Three Houses' story to take place over the course of a number of months, since it revolves around events occurring throughout the Officers' Academy school. Thus, it wouldn't make a bunch of sense if a character's canonical birthday took place both during the introductory training montage of Chapter 1 and during the Battle of Eagle and Lion that marks the halfway point of the semester in Chapter 7. However, it is worth noting that due to the way this system is implemented, some characters get birthday favoritism, whereas others get birthday shafted, especially because there is a time jump from Part 1 to Part 2, and most campaigns do not feature everyone's birthday twice. Speedrunners actually make use of this trick, setting Byleth's birthday on a day that only occurs during the first half of the game, so as to not lose time during the second half of the game. Speaking of Byleth's birthday, that is the one day where there is a technical mechanical benefit, as Byleth is given a gift by their chosen house leader. This is an equipable item that gives the user +2 charm when equipped. It's definitely not the strongest offhand item, since you have to give up something like the leg ring or an iron shield to equip it, but in the early game it's definitely useful, especially on Maddening mode, because that +2 charm helps make unreliable gambit hits just the teensiest bit more reliable. I guess that technically means that there are optimal days to set your birthday, but ultimately, I don't think it's a huge deal. One last detail that's kind of cute is Three Houses uses its birthdays to hint at some of its deeper lore facts. More specifically, Byleth shares a birthday with Sothis, and Rhea, Flayn, and Sedith each have their birthdays set on specific saints' days. Spoiler warning, because they are those saints. There's definitely a lot to be said about the way the Church of Seiros is written, but ultimately I do think it's kind of cute that they hint at this twist through something as mundane as the birthday mechanic. At the time of recording, Fire Emblem Engage is the most recent Fire Emblem game, and it went back to the structure of using the internal clock to track what day it is and therefore determine the birthday. In this game, the only birthday that gives you a concrete mechanical benefit is Alir's, because all of your allies will give you gifts. Honestly, this makes more sense than your allies giving gifts on their birthday but not your birthday. That being said, I think I prefer them giving gifts on their own birthday because it makes their birthday feel like a special occasion. Regardless, if you talk to any of your allies on Alir's birthday, they will give Alir a gift. This gift is always just a gift that you can give to someone else, so Alir is kind of rude, regifting everything that they're given on their birthday. You can even give the gift back to the person who gave it to you, and they don't even comment about it. Because joke weapons were not implemented into Engage at its release time, it makes sense that they would not want to give you a real weapon, but at the same time want to give you something, so I guess Somniel gifts are a good middle ground. It's just kind of funny. As we come to expect, there is a different line of dialogue and a new voice line based on Alir's birthday. And while there is no mechanical benefit to your allies' birthdays, they do still have an impact on the game's presentation. If you give an ally a gift on their birthday, they will thank you for remembering their birthday, which I think is pretty neat. Although I can also nearly guarantee you that it has led to at least one person being surprised that it's a character's birthday and then being thanked by that character for remembering their birthday, which is kind of funny. As for special birthdays, there's not really anything worth noting. They're not evenly distributed with 4, 5, 6, or 3 scattered throughout each month, and not even this game's set of twins, Clan and Fram, can justify this mess. Their birthday appears in March, a month that only has 2 birthdays, their birthday of March 10th, and Jean's of March 31st. At this point, I think it's safe to say that the devs have abandoned the idea of balancing the birthdays through the months like they did in Awakening. It's honestly even possible that the Awakening balance is just a coincidence. Anna's birthday continues to follow the pattern that we expect, taking place one day prior to her Three Houses birthday. Other than that, the only notable birthdays are those of Vale and Mavier. Vale's birthday is September 12th, and Mavier's is September 13th. And this marks the first instance in which two characters have had birthdays directly after each other in the same game. While this is sometimes the case across games, for example, Jean's birthday is the day before Rajat's, which is the day before Tharja's, it has never happened in the same game. And I think that that was an intentional choice on the developer's part to try to spread these birthdays out to prevent you from stacking birthday bonuses. Even though there's no mechanical benefits to stacking birthdays, it's still interesting to me that they chose to break this pattern. And I suspect it's intentional, because without digging into spoilers, Vale and Mavier have a relationship with each other in the game. They are both very important to each other, and so I think it's kind of cool that they chose to link these two characters by having simultaneous birthdays. Just a tiny flavor thing, and also a rebuttal you can pull out next time someone tells you Engage doesn't have any world building. That's all I have to say about birthdays, so happy birthday to me, I guess. Also, happy birthday to all of my patrons. Yes, legally speaking, if you become my patron, this is your birthday too. It doesn't replace your birthday, it adds onto it. Now you have two birthdays, so convince someone to buy you a birthday cake today. Thank you and happy birthday to Michael Kraus, Len, Gameboo, Carosa, Fyrant, Smaz Ruby, Saxon, Seraphew58, Reflect, Marin McLean, Calamity Callie, Queen Eliza, Adele, Jamie Collins, Mean Jojo, Thick Molder, Danielle Kalaskis, Jagan as an Est, Julia Kyoto, Arvis, Bell Wenska, Dicyke, Tailored Muffin, George Granville the 7th PM, SUP, Caius Cole, Gabe the Green, Controlled Aegis, Joanna the Wrenchwitch, Juniper Junby, Ginger, and especially my Jagans, Autumn Kelsey, and Cynthia. If you are interested in financially supporting the channel, there is a link to my Patreon below, but please only subscribe if you can financially afford it comfortably. Otherwise, liking, commenting, and subscribing to the YouTube channel are free ways to support me, but regardless of what you choose to do, I hope you have a wonderful day. Stay safe, gamers.